Welcome back to Leveraging Leadership, where we unpack the art of business leadership. I'm your host, Emily Sander, Chief of Staff turned Executive Leadership Coach. I work with people to help them step into effective leadership and realize their professional and personal goals. If you have known failure and success, if you have had good bosses and bad bosses, if you are a high achiever and want new ideas, and if you want the practical and tactical side of things, then you are in the right place. This show is all about finding your points of greatest influence and leveraging them to better serve those around you. Welcome back to Leveraging Leadership. Our guests today are Karen Zeigler, the Chief of Staff at the Octopus Movement, and Perry Knoppert, the founder of the Octopus Movement and Karen's principal. Karen is in North Carolina in the US, and Perry is in Amsterdam. So thank you both for making this work and being on the show.
Yeah, so happy to be here.
Yay. Really looking forward to this, right, Karen?
Good. Yeah,
Yes.
looking forward to chatting to you both. So Perry, maybe you could start by telling us what is the Octopus Movement in general and how is your team structured?
The official explanation of the Octopus Movement is that we're a global human mycelium of nonlinear thinkers solving the unsolvable for a sustainable future for all of us. This means we are a global nonprofit of weirdos. And we that's not entirely true, of course, but we like people that don't fit in the box. Exactly. That's how it all started with the Octopus Movement. People that just, are not perfectly fitted in the box, just a little bit weird, a little bit different, and not always suitable for systems and expectations. And that's how it started 3 years ago. And that's the Octopus Movement. That's why the octopus, um, 3 hearts, 9 brains, 8 arms, 3 hearts, sensitive, picking up things and very emotional and really human-like, 9 brains, fast thinking, learning, and 8 arms doing a lot of things. So that's why, hence, it's an octopus.
Beautiful. And what's your team structure look like today?
Well, this is a remarkable story about the Octopus Movement. When we started the Octopus Movement, there was no plan, there was no structure. There was just the idea, let's bring nonlinear thinkers together and see what happens. So I'm not against structures, but I am. So if you're asking, what is the team structure? We have a team. Karen is my chief of staff. So we're the left and the right brain. We're linear and nonlinear thinking. Everything is in balance because of Karen. And the team structure is that we have a wonderful management team globally with 28 people now, I think. We have ambassadors, we have founding members. So there are all kinds of layers. But it's really focused on who is who and what suits that person. So there is more focus on the human side than this is the actual structure and this is how it operates.
Yeah. Seems to be in alignment with your overall culture and mantra. So the team structure is kind of like an octopus too, in a way.
Of course.
I'm curious, what led you to decide you needed or wanted a chief of staff on your team?
Balance. I'm a bit crazy and there is a lot of focus on nonlinear thinking, and in nature everything is in balance. So I could see the whole movement globally with the nonprofit and my nonlinear approach to many things, which really frustrated some people from time to time. Perry, you need rules, you need a system, you need to do this, you need to do that. No, I don't need to do anything. But it's at one point when it was growing and growing and growing and growing, I was like, now there needs to be balance. I cannot handle this by myself, and I'm not doing a good job if the main focus is that nonlinear approach. It doesn't mean that I don't use linear thinking. I love structure. I love databases. Oh my God, Karen, all the Airtables and all the things and all the things that are connected. Of course, I'm very linear as well, but my drive is very nonlinear. And it's so nice to have Karen and bring that into balance where we play chess together, and the chess game is the octopus move. And it's like, okay, what if we do this and then do that? I needed that because to start something alone is wonderful. You're not wasting any time in any meetings and debates and, well, convincing people. I don't like to convince people. I just want to flow and make things happen. So for the start, doing it all by myself was wonderful, but then you need a team. Then, you're growing, and it's more fun to do it together than doing everything by myself.
It's nice to have that go-to thought partner and go-to person for balance and
Absolutely.
complementary skill set, it sounds like.
Yeah.
So, Karen, I know chiefs of staff who have trouble tracking down their principal when they're in the same office, let alone different cities or countries. So, how do you and Perry stay connected? What's some effective communication? How do you approach that? Yeah, well, tracking down a nonlinear can be a challenge, but he does pretty good. WhatsApp is definitely our go-to connection, but also we have a standing Monday morning meeting, and then obviously other meetings throughout the week when we're working on projects together. But yeah, I would say it flows pretty seamlessly. He Obviously, the different time zones can be a challenge, but usually it's a great handoff, because when I'm still working, he's going to bed, and when I'm still sleeping, he's up working. So I think it works well together. And I'm assuming that there's a certain level of trust in that because you're not there to maybe check in on every little thing. You're saying, I have to understand the overall goals and drivers and then be able to kind of speak Perry a little bit and interpret what's happening and then do my full day of work and move things forward. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I would say trust is a big factor and something that came quite naturally for us, quite frankly, to have not known each other for very long. I mean, really not known each other at all before we started working together. So it's been a great relationship. I've been quite pleased with it. But I think, yeah, that's very important. If the trust isn't there, things aren't going to go forward very well.
And we have
Yeah.
never seen each
And
other, huh? So we have never met each other, just only online.
oh,
Isn't that remarkable? So just
wow.
on Zoom, that's it, right? And we're really working, and there's a lot of trust, and we share everything, and it's so organic, it's so natural, and I think this is also has to do with the fact that it's, from my opinion, it's not about the skills, it's about the humans. And this sounds very, logical, duh. But when I look around me, I see a lot of organizations and leadership positions where it's based on skills and background and expertise. That's that's not the case for me. It's about Karen, and Karen is the chief of staff. It's not about the chief of staff and the chief of staff is Karen. It's the other way around, and that's why it works so well that our personalities fit very well together. We understand each other. She can look at if we have meetings and, and we're in a Zoom, and then she looks at my face and she sends a WhatsApp message. Perry's not happy. Uh, Other people can't tell, but Karen's is, oh, okay, I can see, how he moves his hands or whatever, what's going on. That's really priceless. That's so cool to work together like that.
Mm. And that leads me. So, Karen, I know you have a coaching background and a design thinking background. So, how do those skills help you as chief of staff? Do you bring some of those into your role? I try to bring some of those into my role. I don't know how effective I am. You know, someone has referred to Perry and I as Sherlock and Watson. And I was watching the show recently just to get an update. And one of the things that really paralleled, and I haven't even shared this story with Perry yet, in the first episode, Watson comes in wearing a cane or using a cane, and they're in a cafe at one point and they're talking about a problem they're trying to solve. And all of a sudden, Sherlock's running out the door to chase a car, and Watson leaves his cane behind and he runs out the door chasing Sherlock to, go off and solve this problem. And I think that
that cane represents assumptions and perhaps perceived ways of thinking. And I think very much so. I came into this relationship with a cane of assumptions and a way of doing things. And it didn't take very long before I was rushing out the door chasing Sherlock without my cane. And so, yes, design thinking and coaching has an influence, but I would say not as much as I had originally thought it would in the process. So,
I love
but
that
I do
story. Yeah.
think, sorry, but I do think that a perfect chief of staff is like an octopus, is like a nonlinear thinker. You have to
oh,
see
yeah.
everything, you have to understand everything, and you have to have a tremendous amount of experience in recognizing things and people and behavior and energy and flows, that it all comes together in this role. And so she's using everything. She's using everything that she has as Karen, and with her skills, and that all comes together, makes it just wonderful to work with Karen as a chief of staff, because there's so much more to it than just organizing things, right? And helping to create
Yeah.
strategy. It's so much more, because this is the human business. It's only about humans. So, yeah.
Yeah. As far as design thinking goes, it's not spoken of much in courses you take or certifications that you take, but not design thinking is a nonlinear process, even though it's laid out in steps. So I think that part of it really resonates and comes through in the work that Perry and I do together, because we are connecting dots and bringing ideas and people and goals together for a clear vision.
And I like what both of you said about, a chief of staff has to bring their whole self. And the parts of the octopus you were mentioning at the top of the call, Perry, you have to use your brain, of course, and have intellect, but equally your heart, and develop relationships and just kind of feed off what's going on in the room. And then, of course, the chief of staff is everywhere. So they've got the 8 legs going on and doing different things. But if you leave out one of those pieces, then you're not a whole fulsome chief of staff. So I think a lot of chiefs of staff miss that, and a lot of executives miss that. They'll say, okay, this person helps me organize things, which is true, but they'll miss out on the other pieces. And some chiefs of staff are, I have to go, do the meeting agenda, which might be true, but they're missing out on the relationship piece. So I love that you guys highlighted that. In terms of culture, so every company has a culture, and some founders, CEOs, chiefs of staff are more deliberate about designing that or not. But you guys have a very specific culture, nonlinear thinking. So how do you proactively design that? And maybe even what are the benefits you see of that approach?
It's funny that what came to mind first is that you don't control it. So I don't know that there's proactive design there. It's more of allowing. I know in our think tanks, in the Meet the Octopi, and some of the other things that we do, it's not so much about an agenda there is a theme or something at the outset, but it's really more about letting the nonlinear thinkers in the room show up, be who they are, add the value that they bring to the world into the conversation.
Yeah, that's true. And it's, after a little while, you can find the language to that, right? It started with, we need to do this. We need to bring these nonlinear thinkers together. We're missing out on a huge opportunity if we're not doing that. How does it work? We don't know. I had no clue. I still don't know what the hell I'm doing. And then the culture develops, and that develops anyhow. But then language comes in, and I love that. It started all with the acceptance of people who they are anyway. So if you bring nonlinear thinkers together, there is no linear structure of expectations. That's already a start. And if I look at the culture now, then I'm using something all the time, and it's turn on your nonlinear thinking, tune into the human mycelium. That's the network, that's the community, and drop out the laws of thought, and that's the basic thinking that we're educated in. This is why we, create problems, why there is discrimination. It's all pre-programmed. This is how it should be, and if something is not like how it should be, it's a problem. If you let go of that, that creates so much possibilities, and I think that's really the culture of the Octopus Movement for so many people. We have more than 7,000 members in 90 countries that they feel at home. They all say that, this feels, I can
Yeah.
be myself. I don't have to wear a mask. A lot of neurodiversity is within the movement, and it's fine. And we have think tanks with 40 people, and someone is bipolar, someone is on the spectrum, someone has ADHD, cannot sit still, and everything is happening at the same time. And it's fine. And that's something I'm very proud of that Karen and I created. It's really cool.
So it's almost like it's not proactively going and defining this culture. It's maybe holding the space or maybe just creating the container where people can come and just be. And that is the
Yeah.
culture.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that is likely part of the problem in organizations today is they have this, they define culture instead of letting the culture define itself, because the group of people they're working with already have all these traits within them, but instead they're being put in these boxes of this is our culture, this, and this. And what Perry has created long before I came on board is that these are the people, this is our community, and what makes them great is when we elevate that, that's what makes our culture great.
Yes, I love that because everyone brings their own unique set of talents and skills and experiences and perspectives. Part of our job as leaders is to optimize that or get all of that out of someone. So they're in their strength and they're feeling comfortable and confident and capable of doing whatever they need or want to do.
Yeah, and I think a distinction too is we're not here to get anything out of anyone. We're here to allow. And when you allow people to be themselves and to bring their best gifts and talents forward, they're usually very eager, especially if their time allows, to participate and help. And I think that's one of the greatest things about our volunteer community is that they do that on a consistent basis, and we love them for it. Obviously, we can't do this by ourselves.
And I can't wait to create a leadership model based on nonlinear thinking, because oh dear, it's time to reset leadership thinking, in my opinion. I read this
Mine too.
article about, you can divide people in two groups: the one that identify themselves based on the relationship as an employee of a company, and or the relationship you have with your car or with your bank account or with your status or your Nikes or whatever. And you have people that identify themselves based on their values. And typically with nonlinear thinkers, you see that that's a bigger group based on values. And this sounds very simple, but start thinking about it. It's interesting that specifically with leadership old style is very much focused on the relationship identification. We're here in this company, so this is what we do, and that's the end of it. So there is no space, there is no security, there's no safety, and this is what we do within the company. So you have to adjust. They identify based on the relationship they have with the company, and that's, I understand that worked, and that's fine, but it's not fine anymore. We need to change that, and I can't wait. We have a few projects within leadership with the Octopus Movement to really present our design in nonlinear leadership, so we can change something in the world in that regards. It's really necessary, I think.
I resonate so much with what you said because for most of my corporate career, when you were at a party and someone said, "Oh, Emily, what do you do?" I would give my job title And that was very much part of my identity. And to be very honest, I was kind of proud because I had done well working my way up the corporate ladder and doing all these things. Now that I'm a coach full time, people say, Emily, what do you do? And I say, I help people make a meaningful impact.
Yeah.
Like that's what I do as a coach. I mean, I have a business and I run different things and podcasts and everything. But ultimately, that's my mission and that's the value I'm trying to exude out into the world. But so thank you for saying that. And I'm really interested. You mentioned you have a few future projects in the works. So what is up ahead for the Octopus Movement? And maybe talk about planning or launches
Oh
or
dear.
how you guys are
Let me get my
rolling
notes.
those out.
Oh dear. Holy shit. No. Yeah. One of the big things is our think tank. So we believe that the nonlinear brain is capable of thinking in a different way. There's a whole story behind that, but to make it very short, a linear thinker is afraid for change. They don't want to have change. They want to control everything. So we put everything in systems so we can control everything, and then everything is fine. And then something changes, and they get very stressed and they freak out, and then anxiety, and it's not a good thing. But the world is changing. We have AI. Can I give that example? AI is coming in. Yeah. And everything is AI and people are freaking out. So we need different thinking in order to survive the next decade. We need different thinking. It's very simple. So we've created these think tanks of nonlinear thinkers from all over the world where we create white papers for ourselves. And we have also created a system to have that nonlinear brain available for corporate world, startup scale-ups, and education. So they can tap into that nonlinear brain and say, okay, this is our problem. Use your different thinking to come up with a solution. And that goes fast. Forget about all the laws of thought, drop out of the laws of thought. 50 minutes, we create a white paper. The last one we did on education, it took us 50 minutes to design everything. It goes so fast. So we come into an organization. What's your problem? We go into the think tank, 50 minutes, an hour, maybe 2 hours. We write a white paper and we start working. We have the human mycelium and we connect everything. That's one thing. And we're now starting to do this with kids as well, because there's this NASA research from 1965. They wanted to go to the moon and they were saying, where are these brilliant minds? We need brilliant minds. And then this research organization company discovered that the 3 to 5-year-olds, 89% of them, 98% of them were creatively brilliant. And from the adults, it's only 2% that is creatively
Oh,
brilliant.
no.
Yes. Oh, shit. That's not a good thing. So we're now going to listen to kids as well. So we're starting a think tank and we invite kids from all over the world to help us to solve the unsolvable, what we do for hunger, homelessness, climate change, education, and well-being. Those are just a few tiny little projects. This is also a project. This is a little octopus, and we send this little octopus all over the world to people that are doing good in the world or can use some extra support. This is the human mycelium. It's humanity. We need to support each other. We need to make sure things are happening in a good way. So we're sending out this octopus. We teach nonlinear thinking in the education world, at colleges, at schools. What else do? We do so many things. Karen, am I forgetting something? We're creating a book. We're writing a book. There's a documentary coming. What else?
Yeah. The marketplace, many things.
Yeah.
Did you say a documentary?
Yes, I hope so. Someone made a documentary out of me, my crazy brain on nonlinear thinking, and we're in the creative process in finishing everything. So I'm curious how that is going to look like. There's a book coming out, Project 398, with 398 nonlinear thinkers from all over the world sharing their story about whatever. So you can read about nonlinear thinking and humanity and how people think. And I'm writing a book about nonlinear thinking, of course, so that needs to come out as well. And we're very busy with brain lunches and meet the other octopi. We have this fast growing human mycelium of people that are connecting with each other, are working together. Um, and because it's a space without any rules, without any expectations, without any pre-created goals and thoughts, it's really a safe space where so many things is happening that we're constantly busy on connecting the dots and doing good in the world. And eventually, this is all about solving the unsolvable. I strongly believe that with the help of all these nonlinear thinkers, we can solve homelessness or education or climate change or well-being. We can do something really good in the world, and it's not even very difficult.
I'm wondering, so if someone is listening to this and saying, I'm intuitively receiving what they are saying, like that something is true about that. But a lot of people, myself included, are very structured and linear. And we have these constructs that society has put in place for how we view things and go about things. If someone's saying, well, Perry, Karen, give me something that I can try right now. So if I'm going into solving this complex problem for my industry, my customers, my team, et cetera, what's a way for me to think differently about that? Is there just like a sliver or a sample of what they can do?
So many slivers. The first one that pops to my mind is how can we lose as many expectations as possible? Because I think the expectations in and of itself is a linear endpoint, and when we focus on one linear point, then we automatically mark out hundreds, if not thousands, of possibilities. And so it really, and this aligns really well with design thinking, it's really more about how do we iterate until we make it gray. It's not about X dot on the map. It's really just about going in the direction of exploration and learning, and then iterating some more and learning some more. And you're growing every step of the way, which is the goals of an organization and individuals in leadership anyway, right? To grow and evolve.
And one simple advice, it's so simple. Joe Dispenza is always talking about that, 90% of our thoughts are the same every day. So taking your management team out for a weekend or a Friday to brainstorm, don't do that ever again. It's bullshit. It's not working. These guys are all thinking the same thing every time, always. And in the old-fashioned leadership structure, they hire the people that think their way as well. So nothing is happening. And when you look at the bell curve, if 80% is linear, then 20% is nonlinear. So you have at least 20% of your people in the company, in your organization, that are pretty nonlinear, but they're not showing it to you. Maybe one or two, they're really weird. You can see it immediately. Oh, that's a nonlinear thinker. But most of them are in disguise. You can't see that. If you open up that conversation, if you use this language, you will discover the nonlinear thinkers. And it's very simple. If you need to solve something, ask the nonlinear thinkers. They come up with creative solutions, with different thinking. And you have them in your organization, if you like it or not, probably according to, the bell curve, math, simple thinking.
2 out of 10.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
And if you really can't find them, or you find it really too difficult, then you send us an email or call us, and then we're like the Ghostbusters. We come in and we solve your shit. And we have a lot of nonlinear thinkers, and we bring them together and solve it for you. But you have them in your organization.
Yeah. And I would say you have them in your organization, and you probably see them as a problem. They're either always asking why, or they're questioning the system. So you see them as rebels or pot stirrers or whatever you want to call it. They actually are the people that have other ideas of how something could work.
Okay, good call out. And I also want to highlight, I love Dr. Joe Dispenza's body of work, and recommendation to the listener, How to Break the Habit of Being Yourself, was one of the books that broke my mind open, just a paradigm shift. So thank you for mentioning that. And you've kind of talked about, we have hundreds of members around the world, and we have these think tanks, and we coordinate with organizations at the firm level. So if someone's listening and they're saying, oh, I want to get access to that individually, is there a place to go? And if someone is sitting there going, oh, at an organizational level, I might want to engage with the Octopus movement, are there different ways to do that?
There are many ways to do that, of course, but corporates, just send us an email. We connect with you, and we brainstorm together. What do you want to do? Do you want to create awareness on linear and nonlinear thinking? Do you want to talk about leadership? Do you have a problem and our think tank needs to solve that? So we can tap into all these things, and we're doing it already with some amazing organizations in the world that I'm very proud of. And I can't mention their names yet, but it's so cool that they recognize the fact that we need different thinking to go somewhere.
All right. So as we wrap up here, my listener would be remiss if I didn't ask, Perry, if you were giving one piece of advice to another executive who has a chief of staff about how to work well together, about some traits to look for, qualities that are important to have in a chief of staff, what would you say to that executive?
Forget about everything. I think that's the most, when you're searching for a chief of staff, you're not going to find the perfect one. It's probably the one right in front of you, and you're not seeing it. It's that connection. I strongly believe in the human mycelium. We're all connected, and these connections are there already. You don't even have to create a new connection. So it's a bit woo-woo to say it like that. Let it all go. No, don't look for your chief of staff. But it's something I really believe in, because the beauty of a chief of staff is that it doesn't exist. There is no, you become an accountant, you become a brain surgeon, you become a lawyer. A chief of staff is someone who can feel and see everything. It's not a job. It's who someone is. And probably in your direct area around you, you already have people that are close to you that way. And that's what I wanted to share, is that don't look for a chief of staff. The chief of staff is probably right in front of you, or you need to let it go a little bit to make sure that happens. And again, sorry for this woo-woo answer, but I can't put it any other way.
A
What
chief
do
of
you
staff
think,
is not a
Watson?
job. It's someone. It's what someone is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a job.
Yeah.
What do you
What
think,
would you
Watson?
say?
I would agree.
Yeah.
No. Of course. No. Yeah, I think it's a way of being that seeing not only everything, but seeing the vision and the detail at the same time. Who's doing that in your organization? And if you don't see that person directly, I would say, just as Perry had a contact that said, hey, I'm looking for this, they had someone that they knew fit that bill. So I would say, talk to your network and explain what a chief of staff is for you. They probably already can help you identify that person if you can't identify them yourselves.
And do you remember, Karen, when I said, do you want to be my chief of staff, what your first answer was?
What is that?
What the hell is that, Perry?
Yeah, I'm going to go look that up, and then I'll come back and give you my answer.
And then
Not a
Karen,
job.
I guess the same question for you in reverse, which is if you're giving advice to chiefs of staff in what to look for with the principal, or how to know you have a strong partnership here, is it the same thing? Just kind of let it come to you and manifest it? Or is it, there are certain things that are important in terms of trust? I mean, it seems like you guys have never met in person, yet I can tell that you guys are synced up and simpatico. So maybe that X factor or a tangible element.
Yeah, I think that human factor, that feeling it definitely has to play a role. Um, not only did I feel really good in the connection in the few conversations Perry and I had before we started working together, there was also an internal excitement with what I was going to get to do and how I was going to be able to utilize the things that are important to me to move a vision forward. So I think it's both. I guess it all stems, at least in my opinion, from the inside. Um, and my thoughts and perceptions on the relationship and where it's going.
And I think, for you, Karen, what we're doing with the Octopus Movement itself resonates with you. And I
Oh,
think,
absolutely. Yeah.
especially with the chief of staff, is that you cannot disconnect, again, the job from what you're doing. So if you're a chief of staff and you're looking for someone to work with, it better be in an area of real connection that is very strong, because you're, as a chief of staff, are doing everything. So there needs to be the same passion as the founder or the CEO that created this. And for that
Sure.
person, like for me, the Octopus Movement is everything. There's one thing, and that's the Octopus Movement. So that needs to be aligned. I don't believe that you can
Yeah.
become a chief of staff for a printing company that is printing something that you really disagree with, and then you become chief of staff. It's impossible. It doesn't work
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah,
I agree.
he's
Yeah.
exactly right. One of the things I was teaching before he and I ever met was that leaders need to tap into the potential of their employees if they want to achieve their visions, not because the vision necessarily resonates, but the resonance of their own passions, their own gifts and talents that they want to bring to the world. That's what makes it wonderful. And that's what the Octopus Movement is doing. So I was preaching the octopus. I was an evangelist for the Octopus Movement before I even knew what the Octopus Movement was. So yeah, there was definitely alignment on many, many levels.
Well, I've learned so much even in this conversation, and some of my questions were structured in such a way where I could see that it was like, oh, just kind of open it up and let it go. And so I've learned a lot even in this conversation. If someone is interested in reaching out to one of you or learning about the Octopus Movement, where should they go? Is there a good place to go for more information?
For the Octopus Movement, it's theoctopusmovement.org, and you can find everything on our website. You can become an octopus, and it's for free to join the movement. You can swim with the other octopi, become a think tank member. You can become a founding member, an angel donor. You can do so many things, or you can just lurk and see whatever is happening within the Octopus Movement. And you can find us on LinkedIn, right, Karen? Just, type in our
Yes,
names,
yeah,
Karen Zeigler, Perry Knoppert, or just the Octopus Movement, and you can find us. I'm also on Pick My Brain. I love that platform. Um, Anyone who wants to reach out and have a conversation, I'm always there. So if someone comes to us and I cannot reach Perry, I can't get to Perry, that's bullshit. I'm always available. Pick My Brain. You go there and you find me and you book a session for 20 minutes on Zoom. I'm happy to talk to you. I'm always curious and I always want to see how we can connect the dots. So you can find us everywhere.
Beautiful. Well, Perry, Karen, thank you so much for what you're doing with the Octopus Movement, and thank you very much for being on the show.
yeah. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
having us. It's been a pleasure.
We look like the perfect couple, Karen. Right? Everything is perfect.
Something.
You
Absolutely.
should have asked for the dirt as well, Emily. What's not going well?
That'll be part two. That'll
Yeah,
be part
part
two.
2. The dirt, part 2. That would be funny.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, share, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.